Have you ever considered how much power lies in a simple look, a moment of eye contact between two men that speaks volumes? The other day, I left my jujitsu gym. I was wearing my gi pants and my rash guard, and my son and I went over to Shields to grab him a new football. Everything was going pretty good, had a smile on my face, the weather was nice. But I also have a high sense of social awareness. And the first thing that I picked up was how men would simply part when I was coming down the aisle. Now, that got me to hone in on that behavior a little bit because I thought that it was odd, to be honest. Then I started noticing that many of them, in passing, when I would give them the old man nod, they would turn their heads and wouldn't even look at me or acknowledge that I was there. The first thing that I thought was, damn, these men are weak. Now I get it. I'm a big guy. I had my martial arts uniform on, right? I got a ton of tattoos. But generally I'm pretty friendly and I show that on my face. But I had an instant judgment of every man from those interactions. And my promise today to you guys is by the end of this episode, you're going to gain a new understanding of how a simple moment of eye contact can profoundly impact your presence as a man. It can affect your relationships and your leadership. You're going to walk away with actionable insights on how using this unspoken language of acknowledgement can show confidence. It commands respect and it builds genuine connections, all while embracing a healthier, more balanced sense of masculinity.
Leaders are not born in a womb. They are forged through heat, pressure, and a whole lot of sweat. The Fire Forged Leader podcast serves the audience through exploring leadership at work, in the community, and with the family, using a practical perspective and real-life experiences from the host, Steve Baumgartner, and his guests in the Forge. Now, it's time to enter the Forge with the Fire Forged Leader.
Guys, just as in that opening story about me with my boy at Shields, this is a tradition that goes far back in history, probably for all of history. Men need to look men in the eyes. It reflects self-assuredness. It reflects strength. It reflects trust and accountability, especially with men, but it goes across all people as well. When I look at my kids and someone did something, right, and I'm trying to figure out who it is, sometimes when they shy away their eyes, that's when I know who did it. Now, in this example, I believe that this is a confidence issue with men, right? Looking another man in the eyes, it's not about dominance, like some would have us say, right? Some want us to be these little puppies on the porch. That's a bunch of BS. Let's talk about real masculinity. Masculinity is about a grounded sense of self. Masculinity is taking care of your family and doing that confidently. And being able to look each other in the eyes and be confident is part of that. But let me tell you a little bit of a story here because I think my confidence gets me a lot farther than my knowledge or experience in some cases. So as you guys know, I jumped from a career of engineering to operations here a couple years ago, about 2.5 years ago. And now I'm getting ready to take another jump. Both of these have been uncharted territory for me. I didn't know what I was going into when I jumped from engineering to operations, but I knew who I was. I was confident in myself. I know that I'm a good leader. I know that I learn things quickly. I know that there's no mountain that is too high for me to climb. So when I interviewed for the job, I stated all these things. The guy's name was Ken that I interviewed with. And I told him, hey, Ken, I get it. I don't have experience in operations. I get it. But I would leverage the people that would work for me. I would gain that experience quickly. I would lead them to success. And I would take this plant using my team and their experience to that next level of achievement. And when I did this, I looked him directly in the eye and I showed that confidence. And after that interview, after he hired me into this role, he actually mentioned that, how confident I was. And I've had that mentioned to me multiple times over my career. As I've discussed, throughout histories, warriors, leaders, and everyday men have used eye contact as a sign of mutual respect. From ancient tribes to military units, a gaze has always been a silent way of saying, you know what? I see you and I respect you as an equal. Now, this wasn't just about acknowledgement, it was also a way to establish that trust and recognize another man's worth. Now, this practice transcends cultures. You know, like I said, warriors to leaders to different tribes to different cultures. In some societies, eye contact is the deepest form of respect, while in others it's a way to gauge the intentions or character of another person. And I would say in the United States that we lean towards the latter in today's age. But we also teeter on that deep form of respect, especially in men. No matter where you go in the world, though, eye contact, it carries a message, and that message is honor and acknowledgement. So when you look another man in the eyes and you give a nod or a brief smile, you're acknowledging his presence in the world, his humanity, and his dignity. When you look at him and you look at him in the eyes, even if it's while you're just passing, it's something that says, I respect you and I acknowledge that you are on this earth. And I know that sounds fluffy, right? But it's the truth. This mutual recognition, it breaks down barriers. It establishes a foundation of respect, even between two people who don't even know each other's names. By offering eye contact and a nod of respect, you're not only giving honor, but you're also opening the door to receiving that honor. It creates this environment of respect, whether it's in a professional setting, a social gathering, or a community space. In our daily lives, where so many interactions are rushed and disconnected, this small but powerful gesture can set a tone for meaningful engagements in our lives in all of those different areas that I just mentioned. If you have a problem with this, making eye contact, I get it. It's not as simple as it may seem, right? It requires a certain level of vulnerability because it exposes us to truly being seen. When we look someone in the eyes, we're not just acknowledging them, but we're also opening ourselves up to the entire world and how that world perceives us. We're dropping our guard, even if it's just for a moment, to create a connection with another person. And that takes some courage. And I know that can be difficult for many men out there. Vulnerability is something that we cringe at. It can be scary, especially in a culture that is teaching men to hide their emotions and put up this rough exterior because they're being attacked at every corner. Eye contact invites someone into our space, and that's an act of trust. It requires faith that the other person won't misuse or reject what we're offering. It's simply a silent acknowledgement of our humanity. But I want to make a distinction here that true strength is not about never showing weakness, but having the courage to show that weakness. In healthy masculinity, strength and vulnerability are two sides of the same coin. To be strong doesn't mean shutting down or walling ourselves off. It means having the courage to be present, even if that means that we're going to be uncomfortable. It means being willing to connect with others without needing to control the outcome. We've often been taught, growing up, I was taught that masculinity means always being in control and never showing any hint of vulnerability. But real men, masculine men, the kind of men who lead, protect, and inspire others, understand that showing vulnerability when appropriate is one of the strongest things that they can do as a man. It builds trust and deepens relationships, whether with colleagues, friends, or even family members. So, there's many times in my life I've gone through a lot of things, right? But I will tell you that every time that I've been vulnerable, I have made a deeper connection with another man. When I tell them about my background, when I tell them about being broken inside, that is when I make the most powerful connections in my life, the most powerful friendships, when people look up to me more. Sometimes brief moments of eye contact with a stranger in an elevator, at an airport, in a hotel, just walking down the hallway in a store. These chance encounters, sometimes they can unexpectedly lead to a sense of understanding and camaraderie. Moments like this remind us of our shared humanity and show that even the smallest gestures of trust can have a profound impact. Now, I want you to stop and think about different people, classes in society. And I see people do this a lot. But there's a man that's sitting on the edge of the sidewalk, and you can look at him and you can see that he might be homeless or he's down on his luck or what have you. And he looks up at you, and we immediately look away. What kind of impact does that man have on his soul at that moment when he can't even be acknowledged as a human? Now, I also get that people in that situation have also taken advantage. I get it. But that's not him. So I want you to reflect for a little bit. Hit the pause button or whatever. And I want you to reflect on your own experiences for a second on when you've maintained eye contact, when you've shown vulnerability through that, and just ultimately allowed yourself to be vulnerable to another human being through eye contact. Think about when you're walking along, how you pass by or meet another man on the road. How does it make you feel when you turn your eyes away or when you make eye contact and you give them the nod? Do you feel like it builds trust or change the dynamic of that connection in some way? As men, we have the power to use our strength to create safety and connection, not just for ourselves, but those around us. Think about that for a little bit. So, you've heard a lot of the reasons why I believe it's important to maintain eye contact or to at least have some eye contact with people, even if you're passing by. But now let's transition that into, you know, if you're a person who might not have that confidence right now, how do you build that confidence? Where does it come from? How can you change your style today? All right. So I got a couple different steps. The first one is master your inner state. All right. So eye contact, it really starts from within, right? To look to look at another human being confidently in the eyes, you yourself need to feel grounded and secure. If you're distracted, if you're anxious, if you're feeling small and insignificant, it's going to be hard to have that engagement. And it's going to be even harder to engage meaningfully. So before engaging in any social situation, right, and maintaining that eye contact or making that eye contact, you need to take a moment to check in with yourself. And I understand this one because I used to be that person who didn't look other people in the eye. I didn't feel good enough about myself to be able to look another man in the eye. So take a moment, check in with yourself. How are you feeling? What's your energy like? Are you feeling nervous or unsettled? If you are, work on some breathing or visualization techniques. Remember the last time that you interacted with someone. Generally, those fears are rooted deep in something that doesn't even make sense, people. And then I want you to adopt a masculine pose, okay? Now, I'll tell you, I used to be this guy, right? If you're watching this on videos, I used to be the guy with my shoulders forward, my head down, just kind of drooping, shuffling my feet. How weak was that, right? How weak was that? And everybody sees that. That's a physical manifestation of what's going on the inside of you. So what I want you to do is when you're walking, when you're doing anything, pull your shoulders back. Use good posture. Open up your chest. Raise your head. Because when you look confident, you feel confident and you present yourself as confident. And then I want you to shift your mindset. So remind yourself, that confidence, it's not about being intimidating or dominating. It's about having a presence. When you have a presence, other people are attracted to you. You need to tell yourself, I am strong. I am capable. I am here. I belong. I am worthy of being seen. The second thing is I want you to practice. I want you to practice this every day. I want you to develop these habits, posture, making eye contact. It's all going to feel awkward at first, but like with any skill, it's going to get easier with practice. So, some of those practical steps is really ease into it, right? Start practicing with low stake interactions. You know, go to Shields, go to the mall, and make eye contact with the cashier, when you're paying for your groceries, or with the barista when you're getting that sugary ass coffee that you get, or with your neighbor as you're passing by, right? You might pass by on the sidewalk. Walk confidently, give them that eye to eye contact, right? When you're in interactions with other people, it might be your boss, it might be a coworker, it might just be your spouse. I want you to hold eye contact, not creepy like, but hold eye contact in that conversation, starting at like 3 seconds. And that's long enough to convey a sense of confidence and respect without making that other person really feel uncomfortable. And then as you engage in these conversations, I want you to lengthen that. I want you to continue to lengthen that. I want you to focus on something, like focus on one of their eyes, right? If you're feeling overwhelmed, focus on one of their eyes. It makes it just seem that much more manageable, right? You just cut that problem in half. Now, there's some other things that you can do as well, right? Out there on the mat, when we're in extreme situations, we don't look in each other's eyes a lot, right? Because sometimes it can get pretty intimidating. I mean, I do, but some people find that creepy too. But other people, they look at the emblem that's on the rash guard. And anyways, that's a whole nother topic, so I'll leave that one alone. But the third thing is I want you to be intentional and I want you to be present. Eye contact is most impactful when it's intentional and comes from a place of genuine presence, not fake, right? And we're going to be going from a place where we feel fake, we're not fake, but we feel it, to that genuine presence. Now, people can sense when you're truly engaged versus when you're looking just simply through them or you're looking at something else, right? So I want you to listen with your eyes. When you're having a conversation, use your eyes to listen. Instead of thinking about what you're going to say next, I want you to focus on that person that's speaking. Watch their hand movements. Look at their face, look at their gestures, and show them that you're present and engaged with your eyes. And make sure it's a soft gaze, not a stare. Don't give them the beady eye look, right? It should feel natural and welcoming, not intense or aggressive. Simply just relax. Soften your gaze, make the interaction comfortable for both you and the other person. And then smile, right? Smile. When you smile, it transfers up to your eyes. It makes you feel more welcoming. It makes you feel like you have warmth and approachability. It can make a huge difference in how that eye contact is actually perceived. In this episode, we explored how the simple act of making eye contact can profoundly influence the way we show up as men and leaders. We discussed the deep, often overlooked significance of eye contact, and we highlighted how it served as a silent language of confidence, respect, and connection. Then I went on by examining how eye contact reflects self-assurance, assuredness and strength. True masculinity is not about dominance or aggression, but about being grounded and comfortable in our own presence. And that leads us to the idea that eye contact can communicate a sense of mutual respect and honor, a tradition that's been valued throughout history and across so many cultures. By acknowledging another man with eye contact, we show recognition and offer that silent nod to his worth and humanity. And then we dove into the vulnerabilities that come with meeting someone's gaze. While it might be simple, eye contact requires openness and trust. It balances strength with courage. We discussed how embracing this vulnerability can break down barriers, build authentic connections, and lead to powerful, life-changing interactions. And then finally, I provided you with a framework that's going to help you become more confident in making this eye contact, that'll enhance your presence, that it will enhance your relationships. And I want you to remember as we wrap up this episode that the ripple effect of small gestures, this eye contact that I'm talking about, and the impact that they can have helps you create more meaningful connections with others, with your family, with your coworkers, with the people that you lead. It helps you become a better leader. And then those things, if you are the framework, if you are having issues with looking other people in the eyes, first I want you to master your inner state. And then I want you to practice daily these small steps. And then finally, you need to be intentional and present.
You have just experienced the heat and pressure of the forge. Remember, words without action are meaningless. Now, after the heat of the forge, shape your thoughts, quench your brain, then put your new tools to use, adding to your leadership. Tune in next week for more lessons from the forge.